So yeah, I've decided after a long period of time, and I still have a particular amount of trepidation about this decision, but changing DAWs. And I've been using Cakewalk by Bandlab for uh, many, many years, since around 2000. So it's quite a long time, and 2001. And I finally got to the point where I realized that Cakewalk by Bandlab uh, is not in sort of the group of seven, like, or the main group. It's not part of the gang, uh, because I think the number one reason why is because, first off, Gibson, when they acquired Cakewalk, at that time Sonar, they decided in their incompetence to run it into the ground. I remember I was getting crashes. It was unstable. It was out of control, and Gibson just, they didn't give a shit. And so things moved on, and the current company, the people, they're over in Singapore, I believe, and I believe the son of a very rich magnate who is like the world's largest supplier of palm oil. The father, they have extremely deep pockets, and one of the decisions they made was to make Cakewalk, change the name back to Cakewalk specifically, which was the original name, not this Sonar bullshit, which I thought was a good move. But then they made it free, and so they have the deep pockets to be able to do that. They don't seem to need to acquire any uh, you know income for development or anything like that. But what that does is it puts a big target on all of the other companies, FL Studio, Avid Pro, Pro Tools, PreSonus, Cubase, you name it. All of them charge for the product in their various ways, whether subscriptions or just paying for three different tiers of their product. And this is how Cakewalk used to be. It used to be, I remember I paid, I don't know, $600, 650 or something like that many years ago for the producer version of Sonar. And it was, that's what you had to pay. And then when it turned free, something happened out there, because I've noticed companies that handle plugins, that create plugins, that create products, physical products, related to music. They exclude Cakewalk from the equation completely. They don't even exist. So it's this big five of producers of DAWs, and Cakewalk is not in there. And I find it kind of unfortunate. I think it was a very bad decision for the people who took over from Gibson to do this, because what it did, even if they charged 100, like much less than all the other companies, for the product, if they would have did that, I think all of these, they would have been included back into the gang. But instead, what has happened is they have become further and further disconnected from these other the big five, and also from all the companies that actually make products related that have to integrate into these DAWs. And I notice it with plugins. I buy plugins fairly regularly. I notice they never mention Cakewalk by Bandlab, ever. They'll mention all the other ones, Cubase, Pro Tools. They'll go through those, but Logic Pro, they'll mention all of them, but they definitely just stay away from it, because when it really comes down to it, all of the other ones are charging a fee, and Cakewalk is not. So you're not part of the gang when you do that, because you're essentially questioning why the other ones are charging a fee. So you're not part of the group. And that aside, I went out and I bought a new keyboard controller. So a controller, as you know, is essentially a keyboard that is useless unless it's hooked up to a computer. You can't use it on its own. It's not a normal keyboard or synth. You have to have it plugged in USB, or USB is the general standard. And so I went out and I bought this Keylab Arturia Keylab 88. Beautiful piece of workmanship. It's a beautiful, solid piece of equipment. And lo and behold, didn't even think about it. Once I had started using it, I noticed that you can set up the DAW so you can get all the controller settings. So you can use the dials with your DAW. So the sliders and knobs will work based on whatever you're bringing up on the screen, with a little bit of tweaking. But so if I'm bringing up some keyboard like a B3 Hammond B3, and it has a lot of sliders and stuff, so I want to use the controller and be able to do that on the keyboard instead of having to use my mouse and go back and slide up something visually on the screen, because they always have a graphic where you can move things like you're using the keyboard, but it's not. You're just doing it on the screen. So the controller makes it really very seamless if it's accepting of your DAW. What I found out only after the fact is Cakewalk by Bandlab is not included in their list. So it's got Ableton Live, it's got everything else, but it doesn't have Cakewalk by Bandlab. So I searched around and I saw that there's a DLL fix for this, and after all of the experiences I've had with seeing how Cakewalk has been excluded steadily and pretty solidly now from being one of the de facto DAWs, even though it is a good DAW, if you ask me, I finally came to the decision to make the jump to another DAW, and that isn't easy. I've been using Cakewalk for ages, and I'm disappointed. I think their marketing decision was very stupid. I think it was an idiot move to make it totally free. They wanted to pull people in. That's great. You're going to pull people in, but you should have charged people for it after a period of time even, and start saying, yeah, you have to pay, because you're comparing yourself to the other DAWs out there, and those other DAW companies are looking at you, well, you're free? I don't want to have anything to do with you because I have to pay for development. You seem like you have deep pockets, so you just trying to pull in as many people as you can. And when it comes down to buying a plugin and I look at the instructions in the plugin and I see they never mention Cakewalk, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of it. They used to. They used to. Until this ill-fated decision to charge nothing for the product. And it's great. It would be great if all the products were free. But that's not the way it goes. And if you think you're being smart out there, Cakewalk, by doing this, you're not. Because you're slowly making people move away from your product. You're pulling in people, and maybe that's what you want, and you're thinking about integrating various things with Bandlab and that. But from my perspective, I want something where I know there's a company that is solidly behind the product and it is respected out there. It is seen as on par, something that's mentioned when you say Logic Pro, there's Cakewalk at the same level. It's all gone. That used to be there. But now this new company that's taken over Cakewalk has just put the last stake in the heart. Gibson did a good job of destroying Cakewalk. Now we got the Singapore company just, let's just make it free. It was really not a good move to do. So I'm just harping on about it because I'm pissed off that I'm having to move to a company that I know is very solid, and I'm moving to Cubase. And people would say, why Cubase? I've looked at all of them. Some of them use, some of the DAWs are they're more oriented to EDM or, making loops and beats and etc. And Cubase has been around just as long as Cakewalk. And looking at their MIDI, they're superb in MIDI. They have a few, I think it's called Vocal Align, different features that I was going, wow, I wish I had that, and I am going to take the plunge. I'm not doing Pro Tools because I don't like subscription. Sorry, not going to happen. But I'll pay a yearly amount to a company that I know is tried and true, and they've been around for ages, and they just keep coming out with new innovative stuff. And I sometimes think that what's going to happen with Cakewalk is they're just going to be, it's a means to an end for the current company. And I feel bad for Cakewalk in some ways. Currently things are stable, but I don't know where it's going. And that is another reason why I want to get away from it. And I hate doing that because I've made so many projects in Cakewalk, and I'm going to keep it on my computer and keep it up to date, but I'm just going to steadily start moving it to Cubase and do the learning curve. What can I say? But that I'm disappointed, but that's all I got to say. Cheers. Have a good one.